Hey, what's up? It's StormDexter with the 5th video of City Skylines, and in this one I'm gonna be making a campus with the campus DLC, so I hope you guys enjoy. Alright, so the first thing that I started off with was making the entrance to the campus with the 6-lane large road that has the bus lanes on the sides, but I decided to change those to normal 6-lane roads anyways. And I made a little 3-way interchange on the middle part of the large road because this was going to lead up to the stadium, or football stadium, up on that hill over there. And the thing about the stadiums and stuff is that they usually generate a lot of traffic once it's game day. So instead of making an intersection where people were allowed to turn left and get in each other's way, I just decided to put this little interchange over here. So since the football stadium is going to be huge, I had to use the landscaping tool to kind of flatten out a really big area for it, and I would suggest using the landscaping tool more often than usual because it's usually key to what makes your town look good and also what makes the transitions to another town look good. And when I was a beginner in this game, I kind of relied on the map creator to kind of guide me to what and where I should build. So if you're good with the landscaping tool, you can kind of just build things the way that you want to build it. Like this hill, for example, back then if I saw it I would have probably never touched it, but it's just as simple as flattening the area and building a little ramp to the middle. And of course I had to use the lane connector tool from the traffic manager mod because I didn't want anyone to be making any awkward U-turns and potentially get in another person's way. So for the entrance of the campus, or at least the front of the campus, I wanted to make sure that it's kind of at an angle from the large road and also aligned with the lake you can't see from the back, and I just thought it would look cool. So the type of university that I'm going to be using is the liberal arts university, mainly because I read online that it brings in more students than the other types of universities, and with more students means more money. But I could be wrong though, since this is the internet that I'm talking about. Alright, so the design I'm going with is I want to make sure that all of the campus buildings are only accessed by the campus pathways and not any road. So I'm definitely going to be spending a lot of time building pathways around. And here I am placing another parking lot, which I honestly am pretty disappointed about because not that many cars really use it. Most of the people that are driving the cars will just end up in front of the pathway they want to take, and the car will disappear when they get out. But it's okay because the aesthetics of a parking lot is what makes up for it, and eventually some people do start parking there, just not more than half of it is going to be taken up by cars. Also, the little quad over here was pretty much inspired by the community college that I go to. So now you can see that I'm finally using what I learned in school and I'm applying that to real life, kind of like this, right? But other than that, I'm pretty much just connecting these lines in a random order, so you kind of get the point. So this hill over here is going to have about 2 different zones, one of which is going to be for the football stadium, which is probably one of the biggest sports stadium in City Skylines campus DLC. And the other area is the residential zones, which is pretty much the dorms of the campus. And I know I could be using the actual dorm buildings for that stuff, but the thing about dorms in the campus DLC is that your citizens kind of treat it as a class. So what ends up happening is that you'll see a bunch of people going to the dorms early in the morning, and around 5 o'clock a bunch of them just leave all at the same time. So it doesn't really make much sense and it kind of ruins the immersion. Alright, so I've gone ahead and added this little road over here, kind of making a half circle for the football stadium to be on. And this is kind of how the roads handle traffic from the 3-way interchange over here and from the diverging diamond interchange over here. And it seems to be handling it pretty well since it is game day, so so it's gonna attract a lot of visitors. But a little weird glitch started happening where the cars exiting the football stadium would sometimes leave but loop around the little circle. So I tried adding this little parking lot, but they weren't really using it, so I ended up deleting it. But I think the problem was I used the Move It mod to align the stadium with the hill, so it's not really at its natural placement when you place it on roads. But anyways, I eventually leveled up my campus to the 2nd level, but I did have to wait a pretty long time for the campus to even have a chance of leveling up, because the way leveling up a campus in City Skyline works is that you kind of have to wait on academic year to kind of have the game check your progress, whether if you're doing good or not. And also because since I'm using the real-time mod, the mod creator kind of set the academic years to be 8 days, which might seem like a little bit of time, but when you have to do this for 5 different levels, it does become time consuming. And it's not even a guarantee that my campus would level up in the academic year, because there are these things called academic works, which your campus has to research or give scholars out to students. To only get a chance at creating those academic works based off of how much money I invested in finding those scholars and also how much students are enrolled into the campus. But anyways, going back to what I'm doing right here is I started making this bridge to kind of go across the street and extend the campus area, because I was planning on putting some campus buildings over here as well, which is also inspired by my community college that I go to, because I saw this bridge and I thought it would look cool if I made it in City Skyline. And then I started terraforming it so I could make more space, of course. And after adding some pathways, I decided to put the gymnasium over here. I wanted to make sure that the people who are trying to get fit have to walk a long way from their class to the gymnasium, which makes sense, of course, because you want to make sure that things are inconvenient for people for the sake of their health. I also put this little studying area over here just in case some of you guys kind of feel like hipsters and decide to study outside where all the trees are instead of studying in your comfortable homes. I also started terraforming this area to kind of prepare it for residential zones or just a bunch of dorms where students are going to live. However, the issue when putting residential zones for your campus is that it's gonna pretty much house normal people, so you'll see a lot of uneducated children living in the houses, which doesn't really make any sense. But anyways, I put a little roundabout over there because I was planning on having more roads kind of sprawl out to different directions. So this is also how it looks after I was done building these roads in random directions I feel fit. I mostly just skip that stuff because it's pretty simple. Alright, so to make sure that the people who are taking up residency in this area are going to the university, I had to create a zone around it. To enable the educational boost policy in the policy tab for zones, which makes the citizens living in that area prioritize education over work. I also started branching out from this roundabout over here to another section of the campus. Alright, so going back to the football stadium crisis, this was the part when I kind of found out that using the Move It tool was what bugged out the cars from looping. So I redid it a little bit. I made sure that the football stadium was on the road correctly, and if I did end up using the Move It tool, I wanted to move the roads with the football stadium so that it could still stay on the road correctly. And this is what it looks like when it's lined up with the hill, and eventually I was satisfied with it. But if you look closely, you can see a car struggling to get on the road because I keep moving it. But other than that, the cars started to function normally and as expected after fixing it. So continuing on to expanding the main part of the campus, this is where I decided to add the School of Education, I think it was, which increases the capacity for students in middle school and high school. Also, this is what 0% unemployment looks like. I don't even know what part of the video I got this on, but I wanted to highlight it. And eventually I got to the 3rd level, which seems pretty fast in video, but I probably spent hours waiting for the days to go go by to get past these levels. But you know how it is, I just start putting random stuff down on the campus to increase student capacity and also campus attractiveness. But over here I started expanding these paths towards the shoreline, and it was pretty easy considering that I've already aligned the campus beforehand, and I just thought it would look pretty cool. I mean, who wouldn't want to walk these paths near the river? And who knows, maybe you might see a dead body float by. And I might even consider putting a sewer drain at the beginning of the river so that a bunch of water pollution can come through. And right now I'm kind of just designing a monument in front of the football stadium because it looked a little bit empty and I wanted to add a couple of things into it. So I put a fountain in the middle and also a fence around the entire place with some trees. But I didn't want anyone to loiter around this place, so that's why I added the fence, and also I started adding some tall grass because even if they get over the fence, then they would be uncomfortable with having grass go inside their pants. And over here I just kept adding these fountains because when it comes to leveling up a campus in this game, it seems pretty unrealistic with how attractive your campus should be to level up. So I ended up just spamming a bunch of fountains and buildings later on, but I did want to have some variety, so I made a little park here with a huge tree in the middle, just a place where I would hope to imagine people hanging out, but since it's not an actual building, there's not going to be any citizens using it. But anyways, this is kind of the part where I started adding these monumental buildings, which are requirements for the wonders. And the wonder building that I wanted to make was the hard-on collider, and at first I thought it was just a wonder for trying to get a really good sewage and water treatment for your entire city, but it actually turns out that it educates all your citizens really fast or instantaneously, actually, without requiring them to go to that building. But the thing is that if I allow it to educate my citizens to become highly educated, then they're not going to go to my university. So there is an option to disable that, which I turned on as soon as I put the hard-on collider. And I started painting pavement into the surface so that it can make it look like it's part of the building. I also discovered that you don't really need these monumental buildings for the hard-on collider to function. Once you have the required buildings and you built the hard-on collider, then you can delete the buildings without a problem. Also, you can see in the back that there are buildings being upgraded because the citizens are getting more educated. And finally, after waiting for the campus to level up to level 4, I added these buildings in random locations that I see fit. And I don't think it really matters what kind of buildings I put. I think they all just function the same way. Students go to them at a certain time and then leave. So I think the whole point of having different buildings is to have variety and aesthetics for campus. Unlike the Industries DLC, where different buildings actually do have different functions, or at least have similar functions but have different capacities or efficiency in the resources that they're manufacturing. I also added this other area to what seems to be a quad, which looks pretty cool. I think if you want to make a campus, you want to have a lot of quads like this, because I feel like that's what most universities have, or at least also high school. I think I've seen this in high school as well. And of course, you can see me just spamming more fountains because the campus attractiveness requirement is just really high for the next level, but I eventually got it. And also, I finally found a good use for these dormitory buildings. Since students treat them like classes, I might as well make them seem like really small classes and fit them into these little squares that a normal study hall wouldn't be able to fit in. Another thing that I did was I built this little parking lot across the street from the main campus building because I didn't want people on the streets turning left to go in the parking lot, so I only gave them the option to turn right when they're going to the parking lot, and also turn right when they're exiting the parking lot and onto the street. And if I were to let them turn left, then they would just cause a lot of traffic since there are so many students entering and exiting the campus all at the same time. So if the building that they're trying to go to is on the left side of where they're coming from, then they would park on the right parking lot and then go across the bridge to go to the building that they want to go to. But the thing was, they weren't really using the parking lot roads to leave onto the large road. The students would just go to the sidewalk, leave from there, and then end up in the middle lane, which would cause a lot of traffic. So what I did was I just deleted that little parking lot road and added this little strip of road, which was working pretty well, I would say. But the traffic that you're seeing here was caused by the end of the day where students are leaving class, and also the end of the football stadium event, so there's gonna be a lot of people coming from all over the place, and it's just a little bit too much for the diverging diamond interchange to handle. And also, since the last academic years are gonna take so long, considering that I need to get 8 academic works to go to the next level, and I could only create 4 academic works per year, so then that would mean that I would have to wait 2 years to make a total of 8. So I decided to use that time by creating another student living area, and this one's going to be directly connected to the highway. And in fact, it's just going to be another town, or at least it's going to be as big as another district. The only difference is that this district will have a policy of educational boost, because I want more students for the university. I also made sure that the highway entrance is directly connected to the roundabout over at the campus via Avenue Road. And after I was done building the spine of the districts, I filled in most of the gaps with these random patterns of roads, which is not going to be in a grid-like pattern because I wanted to make sure that this district looked like a medium to high wealth residential area. And having curvy roads kind of give the impression that this place is wealthy. Also, a prison bus kind of just despawned in the middle of the road, so then all these prisoners just got out and walked away. And for the last residential area, I wanted to build it on the other side of the roundabout from the football stadium and kind of just build the roads to trace the edges of the cliff, and then I started painting the tiles with the residential zones. And eventually 2 academic years have passed in which my campus finally leveled up to level 5, but most of the pathways were already built for me, so the only thing that was left for me to do was just put these new buildings down. I mean, I could always decorate a little bit more with props, but other than that, I'm pretty much done. So after adding all these buildings here, I think I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this video up. I hope you guys enjoyed watching me build this campus, and here's a little cinematic for both day and night of the campus. And that's about it, so see ya.